Hey everybody, and this is Mr. Pod, episode 16. I've actually got it updated this time, and I'm here with Ginny, aka S. Dear Dalin,
Nearly, so nearly.
on Twitter. You can see it on the YouTube video. Very talented painter and game artist, and we're gonna talk probably about that maybe. How are you doing?
Good but sleepy. It's 20 past 5 here.
Fuck. So I guess that
Thrilled.
that makes you the one person with a worse sleep schedule than me.
Yeah, pretty much. I think like I was up until about 7 or 8 or something yesterday, just sitting on the Slack talking absolute rubbish.
Yeah.
But I don't really know why.
Now I talk to a lot of people because the internet is amazing, like people in Sweden, etc. And typically their sleep schedule is kind of shitty as well because they want to work with people in the U.S. so often. And
That's the thing. Like if you're working with people in different time zones, you just kind of gradually shift over to whatever they're on because it's more convenient for them to be present. So like sometimes I'm working with people who are like 5 hours different or 8 hours different. So that's my excuse anyway.
they're already criticizing me in the chat because I didn't change the actual stream title. We
Oh,
were technically we were still me drawing according to Twitch. But this is far more interesting than that.
oh yeah. I'm really sorry to disappoint people that it's not you drawing.
Yeah. Are you like classically trained? Did you go to an art school for a period of time and
Yeah, I did 2 years of illustration at college, and then I did a 3 year degree in animation.
oh
So
wow.
technically, but I mean, I specialized in environment art and concept and stuff. So I didn't actually do any animation, but apparently you can still get a degree if you don't.
That's actually pretty common it seems like is a lot of people I know that are going for animation aren't doing that at all. And they're like looking at me and asking me how I do animation. That's a mistake. My animation is terrible. Uh, but I mean, would you recommend that program, or would you have been better off if you had just jumped into what you wanted to do?
I mean, that's people say that all the time, don't they? They're like, "Oh, don't go to art school," and I think that's a lot more true in America, where it costs like
Yeah.
way more. I mean, like here, the actual tuition cost is covered for us, but it's just the cost of living and student loans and things that are really, really high. So, I mean, that particular course, I think I could probably have learned the same amount just doing it myself, probably more. But I hadn't been doing it in a while, and it's kind of good to have somebody boost your motivation a bit, I guess, give you deadlines and freak you out. So, in a way, yeah, I would recommend it if that's something that you need, like somebody to kind of kick your ass.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. And that's the thing. It's like I went to college and I don't regret it, but I also accept that like the things that I learned in college are useless in my life. And it's just kind of a place that you go because you're around a bunch of people and it's inspiring because there's so many people that are trying to do the same thing. But like when you were doing that, did you know what you wanted to do, or did you just know that you wanted to do art?
No, I already knew that's what I wanted to do, but then I went back to uni quite late. Like, I can't remember how old I was, but I think I graduated when I was like 30 or something. So, like, I was one of the people on the course that was there purposefully to learn stuff for a specific career, whereas a lot of people just come straight out of school and they were like, pick something at random. So, like, they kind of tell you to do animation if you're like, if you were to ask people like what should I study to work in games, then they'll tell you to do animation because you'll learn all of the basics that you need.
Yeah.
So like that's really why I did it and why I think a lot of other people do it.
Yeah, the people that I knew that were in animation programs were they were in like an internship program with Pixar and places like that, and they were basically they didn't realize it at the time. They were setting themselves up to like get the most boring job imaginable, where
Yeah.
you like text your foreheads all day and that's all, and they don't let you do anything else. Um, but yeah, I mean, if if you wanted to do art, it makes sense to go into animation because it's a lot more flexible.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going for jobs like that, you are just going to be production line, aren't you? Like you're gonna do some like tiny job that fits into a hole, which is why um, like indie, obviously the pay is rubbish, but at least you have a lot of creative input into whatever it is you're doing.
Yeah, it's either bad or it's really really good, and you don't know. That's a problem. It's like as much as we say, "Oh, this game is good," it makes sense that it made money. A lot of these people probably had no idea, and then they were millionaires like overnight.
Yeah, I mean, it's like when people talk about like whether you should do royalties or you should be paid, by the hour or whatever up front. Like it's so hard to tell which one's going to be a success. So like I can see people kicking themselves when something goes big and they've just been paid like a few $100s or whatever.
Yeah, that would be terrible. Um, I mean, but yeah, it's easy to say like, oh, take royalties because it's got upside, but it's also hard to like starve. So,
Yeah, I mean, royalties is something you can afford if you're independently wealthy, or you have another job or you're currently studying or something like that. But when you're full time freelance and you're having to like put food on the table and pay your bills and stuff like that, you can't really afford to take those kind of risks, I guess.
yeah, I mean, have you basically just been freelance since the day that you graduated?
Yeah, actually,
Probably
I have.
before as well.
Well, like I got into like actually working in games on I think just before my final year at uni, and I was like, I'd like to work on an adventure game to start out because that's what I'd wanted to do when I was a kid. So I just basically went to look up websites of people who'd been making things on like the AGS forums, and I found Infamous Adventures, and then they were in the middle of working on something, and if you wanted to work with them, all you needed to do was email. So I was like, I'll just give it a go. So I emailed them and I said, hi, I'm studying blah blah, and I'd like to do backgrounds or something like that. And I like immediate reply, and they were like, sure. And I was like, is that it? Okay.
Usually that's a bad sign.
Well, they were like it. At that point, they were making like fan remakes and stuff. They weren't commercial, so like it's not like I was applying for a proper job. But I was literally only there for like 3 weeks, and then they were like, "Actually, we're going to go commercial now. So do you want to work on a project? We're going to do a Kickstarter." And I was like, "Sure."
Yeah, why
So
not?
yeah, I spent like my final year of uni making two films and a game at the same time,
That's
which was
great.
yeah. So yeah, I kind of had the ball rolling before I even left, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. Well, I was in a
Like,
fine arts program for a couple years, and I guess not many people realize that. But that was when I mean, I was the opposite of you. I was just like doing it not seriously at all. And I think that came across. I mean, I was 18, and
like in the quality of your work.
well, yeah, the work I think was fine. It was just when somebody would come up to me at a gallery, or if somebody would like talk to me about my painting, and they would say like, well, why did you make this decision, and I'd say, well, because it's a good color, and they'd be like, but why does it feel like what do you feel? And I was not that deep, and I'm still not. I mean, I think animation's probably a better program for me too, because I don't want to paint something and then like tell people why.
Well, this is absolutely why I did a practical course, because I can't deal with that kind of thing. Like I don't like I can't understand art that like needs a plaque, the kind where like there's a description underneath that tells you like something that you couldn't possibly guess from just looking at it. And
Yeah.
that just goes like right over my head. So like illustration's good because somebody just tells you what to draw and you draw it and then they give you money.
Yeah. And the most fucked up thing is that, when you're doing abstract stuff, which you can't get around it, eventually you have to do something that's nothing. And I'm not that deep. I don't have anything, there's nothing in my mind. So I'm like, it's a square and a circle. And then the person next to me is like really into it. And they're like, and it's fucking amazing looking, but I can't conceptually understand how they could do that. I think that's about the time I figured, okay, it's time to go do something else with my life.
No, I can't do abstract either. Like I think I would try, but I would make real things come out of it. I can't not do that.
Yeah.
It would probably be dicks because that seems to be what happens. Like you know how like you're doing paintings of things like rocks and trees and organic stuff, and then you're just sort of making random shapes and then filling them in, and then you come back and look at it later, and it's like incredibly phallic.
So that it's
And then
like, do you think that's what happened with like Georgie O'Keeffe, where
like
it
accidental
was supposed to be
vaginas.
flowers, and then everybody was like, "Homie, that's some vaginas right there."
What you've got right there, my friend, is a vagina. Yeah,
And then it's like one of those. I guess I'll just roll with it because
she was like, yeah, there's money to be made in these here vagina flowers.
even if it was just completely incidental, uh, it's just like indie games. Like she had no idea. It was just hanging out painting flowers.
Sorry.
It's the first apology on Mr. Pod for laughing at
I was
something.
I was warned ahead of time that I had to laugh at his jokes.
Oh yeah, it's really painful if you don't. Like for me, I think everybody else enjoys it, but I don't. It's really, it's terrible. Somebody just asked where all these dicks came from.
I did.
Uh, it's hard to especially with rocks, like rock formations. You're taught, I think, at least I was when I was starting off at art. It's like odd numbers are better for some reason, than even numbers. So whenever I draw rocks, I always end up doing like 3 rocks, and it's really hard to not make
Oh, yeah.
3. you know. So I definitely understand.
Yeah, I had to do this scene, and it was like a kind of underground catacomb thing. And I was doing like you've probably seen it before, and it was just like this random kind of monster design thing. But I just had to put part of the background in, and they were these kind of really organic looking columns, and I just made the wonkiest looking dick ever and didn't notice at all and submitted it. And like now like that's all I can see, and it's too late.
I mean, through going through my mind right now, and I don't know if you do this. I always title episodes after they're over with just some vague reference to the episode, uh, to kind of goad people into listening or watching or whatever. So I'm having tons of ideas right now of what.
This is gonna be some serious clickbait right here.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. so so you're also working on Steam Marines. Are you just doing character portraits, or are you doing a whole bunch of stuff?
No, I'm just doing the portraits because like I find this quite funny because like my obviously my client has a real name, but like I've always called him Bums, and I totally forget when I'm explaining this to anybody who doesn't know him, and I just call him Bums, that it must sound super weird. But it's like it's on all my official paperwork. I have to keep writing Bums like in my accounts and stuff. But Bums wanted it to be like the kind of portraits you get in D&D games. You know, like they're kind of 80s high fantasy, like really.
Yeah, like the old Baldur's Gate portraits. I think that's what I
Yeah,
was saying. They remind me of.
yeah, good. But yeah, that's the only part that I do that. There's a couple of other artists. One guy who's modeling the environments, and another one doing the actual marines themselves. But
Oh
it's pretty cool.
yeah. I never played the first one, but I don't really play games. I don't have time. Especially since I'm pretending to be an indie dev, I don't have time for anything except for like the occasional, something that everybody has to play when it comes out. I get sucked into those. Um, but
Yeah, I think like I always feel bad saying that, like, oh yeah, I don't have time to play games, because like, if you're making games and not playing them, then you're just gonna make shit games, in my opinion.
Oh, thanks.
No, you do. I've seen your other podcasts where people have like called you out on the fact that you do actually play games, and it's
Oh
bullshit.
yeah, I'm a liar. I'm a compulsive liar.
Yeah.
It's just one of my charms.
But I mean, like, if you didn't play any ever, that would be awful. But like, I think we're all in the same boat where we have like a shitload of work to do, so we just have like these massive Steam libraries that don't get touched much.
Well, I think when you get up in years, and you see it in indie a lot, where somebody will release a game and you're like, well, that reminds me of this game that I played when I was younger. But to a lot of people, they're like, wow, this is revolutionary. And so you can kind of, I think, get away with just being an old person and making old games. And you see that a lot, especially with, like, for instance, adventure games. You know, the genre hasn't really changed that much. Telltale has done a lot to kind of redefine it, but they're not even like point and click anymore. They're like make a decision and kill your friends adventure games.
Yeah, I mean, the kind of people that like the games, the adventure games that I make, are the kind of people who don't like Telltale games. I think, like the kind of people that like the way games used to be. I think they find that a bit handholdy or like a bit boring or something. I guess. Like, I'm trying to think if I've played their Monkey Island ones, and I
Oh yeah,
played like half of the first episode of the Walking Dead one.
and you didn't care for it?
Uh, well, it's one of those things where like I didn't play it until after it had been super super hyped, and then
Oh
like, you've
gosh.
got all this expectation, and then you come into it and you're like, really? Um, so like I didn't watch the TV program either, so I'm sure that
Mm.
like it gets amazing and that you get attached to the characters. But for me, I was just kind of, I don't know, like not feeling it.
I think
I need to,
the fandom probably helps. Like being a fan
yeah,
of the show, it's like you're in the show, so that's really, it really draws on that effectively. But yeah, I can see like being unfamiliar with it and just thinking, oh, it's another zombie thing. Like that could get kind of tedious.
yeah. I mean, like I don't know what the appeal of the show is because I've not seen it. I mean, like there's a lot of zombie stuff, so like, is it like a really strong story that works well as a game? I mean,
When
have
I
you
was
seen the
selling
show?
it, I had to sell this show to my wife because I don't like to watch things by myself unless like absolutely necessary. And I had seen several seasons of it, and I am a fan. I do like The Walking Dead, but I would say it's almost more like a drama than it is a zombie show.
Okay.
It's like you have all these characters and they all have interpersonal issues and they're all just massively fucked up. Oh, and they're also zombies. Like it's kind of an aside. And then
That
the
that seems. I can see why that's a Telltale game then.
well, and it's got the appeal of basically those old doctor shows that used to be on all the time, and it's like ER and Grey's Anatomy and those kinds of shows, and it's
Oh
like
yeah.
whenever somebody got too boring, they just killed them because it was a hospital. It makes sense for people to die all the time. It's the perfect drama because when you get bored with characters, or even if you're not bored yet, they kill them and fill in another character. There are a ton of different archetypes that they could use in a zombie apocalypse. But it's kind of that Game of Thrones-ian kind of equation where
Well,
you
they
just
did Game of Thrones too, didn't they? Telltale.
yes, they did. I never played that one.
I'd say I just own all of these things on Steam because I feel like I should, but
Yeah.
I haven't played either of them.
So when somebody looks up your profile, they're like, "Wow, what a cool person with cool
I like
taste."
Jenny's so switched on with her finger on the pulse.
Yes.
I know
She
this
knows all the games.
this podcast is going to be a bit of a peek behind the curtain. Unfortunately, sorry guys.
I gotta be honest, I have no idea what language you're speaking. I'm just kind of replying.
No. I worried that this would be the case. I'm trying to limit my use of bizarre Scottish catchphrases in the hope that I mean.
Catchphrases. You're like, "Wajowza!"
Look, I knew.
No, yeah, I was wondering about that as well. I mean, not only am I Texan, but I'm like very Texan. And I hide it, because it's embarrassing to sound the way that I actually sound.
Do
Uh,
do it. do a wee bit for me now,
No,
like what you actually say. Go on.
we're not going to get into that. I think there was an episode a while back called Grumblers where I talked like myself for a while, and it's just you know uh, I kind of quit doing it. Moving into high school, I worked on a farm growing up, so that's how I talk. I talk like somebody who worked on a farm.
I have to look this one up later then.
Yeah, yeah, I would recommend it. If only because I like the idea that people watch me for entertainment purposes. But
Well, it certainly isn't to learn anything.
oh no, I mean, what would they learn? How to be a person who likes Cheerios, I guess.
Well, yeah, I guess so. Oh, well, you can probably teach them 3D now that you're a whiz.
Oh yeah, a whiz. That's actually a word I would use to describe myself. It's like, check this out. Clearly the product of a whiz.
A whiz, indeed.
But so you wanted to do clearly, I mean, you wanted into the adventure game thing, even though it's almost like they're a dying breed.
I know it was a bad decision.
No, I don't think that. I mean, I don't think people should work on games that they're not a fan of. In terms of just like, especially even just the genre. Even if you don't like the story or whatever, it doesn't matter. But people should work on stuff that they like. Otherwise, you might as well be doing like taxes for a living.
Yeah, I mean that was the thing. Like I went back, obviously went back to study, and I'd done like a whole bunch of years in it. And then when I was looking at the kind of jobs that were available, a lot of it was for like vector stuff and 3D and basically like everything other than what I can do. And I was like, well, shit. But I figured like there's no point in having gone through all of that education and then all of that practice at home and blah 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 just to settle for something I didn't want anyway. So it's more just been about trying to build up a client base and trying to make money through commissions and stuff as well, and like get to make games that I actually do like playing. And I do still like old school adventure games.
Yeah.
Like
So you said you wanted to do it since you were younger. I mean, like, what do you think like specifically inspired you? Like, what games can you trace it all back to?
you're gonna hate this, but
What?
you're gonna it was one of the King's Quest games actually.
Well, the only
um,
problem I have with King's Quest is that I think when they were like really hitting it, I really wasn't old enough to fully appreciate the games. And the first time I ever played them, I got them in like a variety pack, and much later than they came out, and I was like, "What's going on here?"
well, like I think I got the first three like all at once, and then I was getting like one Sierra game or LucasArts game like for every birthday and Christmas or whatever. But King's Quest Five, when I got that, I think like it was probably one of the first games I got that was like on a CD, and I was like, oh my word, exciting times. But the backgrounds were like had been hand painted and scanned in, and then pixel edited, I think, and the quality was amazing, and I was like totally like captured imagination looking at this thing, and I was like, I wish I had made this. And then obviously Monkey Island and Monkey Island 2 came along, and like they're just so perfect, like I wish I had made them.
Yeah.
So like I wanted to work with these people, I wanted to work with these companies, and obviously by the time I was old enough to do that, they were long gone. But I still knew that I wanted like a little piece of that, you know. And then when their first game came out, the Quest for Infamy one, like that was probably like the closest I've ever been. It was quite a special feeling.
Yeah. It's strange, you know. They say the first thing that you have on a CD, it's like everybody remembers like their first music CD that they bought and their first tape and their first like. And I do remember my first game that I had that was on a CD was actually Return to Zork.
Oh, I've heard of it, but I haven't played it.
Which is it's basically like a first person adventure game that's like extremely brutal, not at all appropriate for the age that I was. But and then the second one was actually Day of the Tentacle, which I guess I was a little late to the party because that was out on disc before it was on CD, I think.
My copy was on CD as well, so I must have got it quite late. But I was super, super into that. I don't think I played Maniac Mansion until after Day of the Tentacle, because I remember there was like a copy of it that you could play inside the other game.
Yeah, there was a computer in one of the offices that had it on there. I did
Yeah.
actually. I have it on the NES. So I had played it when I was young, and it's kind of painful to play. It's not super enjoyable.
No, like I think there's some kind of like fan update where they added like a point and click thing to it, which made it like, or they I can't remember what the first one was like, because I think I've probably played the fan one more now. But they did something. They updated the interface and made it like much more playable. But I mean, all of these old games that have like unwinnable states are
Yeah,
super painful to go back and play now. Like
I
you
was
were
about
way
to
more
say,
forgiving of that shit
like,
before.
there's really no lose case. Like you just kind of like get to a point where you just don't even realize you can't win, but you eventually figure it out.
I don't. The worst one for that, which still upsets me when I think about it, is have you played a game called Mad Dog Williams?
No, I haven't.
Like it's um a super low res adventure game, but like there's some kind of crappy combat in it, as I recall. Like you can kind of move side to side and like stab people, I think. But
That sounds
other than that,
amazing.
well, yes, it's pretty good.
Both
But
sides
I'm
and stabbing, that's three things. That's fucking in-depth gaming.
but like there, I mean, there's like a little crappy arcade sequence where you're like riding a dragon or something like that and avoiding other dragons. But anyway, like you start off in one area, and then obviously there's that whole dragon flying thing, and then like the end sequence, and you need to like tie ropes together to get somewhere, and you've got maybe two ropes that you've picked up along the way, but you need three. Like it's not long enough, and that fucking third piece of rope is from the very first room that you go into in the game. And like when you're in that room, you're being chased by guards, so you kind of run through without properly exploring, and you get right to the very, very end of the game before you realize you need that piece. So I've never completed it, and I'm very upset.
uh, yeah, I just kind of I mean at this point it's like why even bother playing games like that? But like
No, like that's something that I'm really glad that they don't do anymore. Like I like that there are certain aspects of old gaming that like these newer games that are coming out try to emulate, but I'm really glad that the dead ends are a thing that have been left behind because they're ridiculous.
well, I mean even like up until Morrowind, they had that, but they would warn you. They would say like, "Oh, by the way, you fucked up. Like load your last save now cuz you killed this important person."
All right, yeah, yeah.
But I think like the Ultima series was like that. I mean, and I mean, how familiar are you with the Ultima series?
I never played them.
It's interesting. Richard Garriott, the creator of Ultima, always talks about when he was making the Ultima series, he allowed people really. It was one of the first games that you could just like kill anyone. You know, friendly people, enemy people, they were indistinguishable. You know, you could and like totally screw your whole game up. And he talked about in an interview how he used to get fan mail from people saying like, "Wow, it's amazing that you allow us to make these moral choices." And in his mind, it was just like he didn't not let you do it, and he had no idea. So then in the next games, he started like introducing the concepts of morality and things like that. But back then, it was just laziness. You know, laziness
I
invented the open endedness of it.
I like the idea that like because people are always going on about moral choices now, and like those the how all games now have to have different endings where like you're the good guy or the bad guy or whatever, and the idea that that all came from like someone's total laziness or a mistake is just magical.
Yeah, yeah, and that I mean that basically defined every game after that was like, oh, you can kill anybody, but don't kill anybody. And yeah, it's just funny. You get this letter, and you're like, my God, what have I done? Like, because in his mind, he didn't want people to hurt the people, and he couldn't even fathom the idea that somebody would want to like murder. He goes by Lord British, and the character in the game is Lord British, but it's like people bragged about killing his character, and he never thought that that would be something anybody would be interested in doing, you know, until they did. And the internet didn't exist, so the news travels by paper mail. but
But like people love that stuff. Like you played WoW, didn't you? Like who was that? It was in STV, and if you were there was an NPC that patrolled like along the path all the time that you could kill from like the opposing faction. And there was like some random elf at a campfire as well, and they didn't fight back. You could like kill them in like one shot, so it wasn't even like it was satisfying in any way. But like everybody would kill that character every time they were anywhere near it.
yeah,
Like
but World of Warcraft is kind of like an example of things going so far the wrong direction. I think that like you could have absolutely no impact on anything in that game, other than exactly what Blizzard tells you that you're allowed to have an impact on. And because of that, I think it drove people to go completely crazy, and like everything that they can do, they now have to do. Like if you see a person who's like level 5 walking down the road, you're like, I'm gonna fucking kill that person because I can. You know, we're like in Ultima Online, when online gaming kind of started, people would just like say hi. They'd say, hi, how are you doing? You know, and that was your friend now. It was totally a different place. I guess people weren't as shitty back then.
well, yeah, I guess so.
But now it's like if you kill somebody in World of Warcraft, you have to like stand over their body and wait for them to come back and ruin the rest of their night. You have to. I mean, it's like an unwritten rule. You can't get around it.
You do it until they get so upset that they log off and make a character like on your faction so they can come and cry.
Well, that didn't even used to be possible. Like they
I
couldn't do
I
anything.
know like you couldn't have the same faction on the two of the different factions on the same server, right?
Yeah.
To stop people doing that.
Yeah. So I always relay back like they restricted. You know, you always hear the colloquial or the expression where you know the more you tighten your grip, the more slips through your fingers. And that is totally like self-evident in World of Warcraft, where they imposed such strict restrictions on people that it created this like sociopath mentality of like if somebody's on the other faction, you have to run at them and kill them, you know, and they're not real people. You know, they're less than you somehow.
I think that they, at least to an extent, encouraged that by making it impossible to talk to the other faction. Like the fact that you can't understand anything that they say, like dehumanizes them a bit. I think.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and
And I'm sure that's intentional.
you used to be able to talk to them using like non-alphabet characters. Those would go through, so people would type like elite speak to the enemy, and they could
Yeah.
understand it. I
And
got banned for that once actually.
I remember there being certain phrases that people had worked out. If they spaced out the letters enough, then
Yeah,
they could say certain things. But the kind of stupid shit that they were able to say wasn't helpful at all.
yeah. Well, like
Like,
yeah. I mean, I just remember yelling balls, like using the bar and three, and then I got an email that said like this is like an email that somebody wrote, and it said, guess what? Your account is suspended. You shouldn't have said balls. And I was like, really? Because apparently it's just like expressly forbidden that you communicate with the enemy in any way, which is just crazy. Like without being able to talk shit, what else is there?
I briefly had a friend from the opposite faction, even though I couldn't talk to them. It was like that game Journey. Is it Journey? The one where you can't talk to people? I haven't played it.
I don't play
But I
any
assume
games.
it's I don't know. But yeah, we just emoted to each other. Like, but it was one of those situations where you just keep seeing the same person like in a city or something like that, and you just wave at them every time. Um, and eventually they made like a character on our faction and like joined my guild, and it was quite emotional.
That's so. I mean, that's living the dream right
I,
there.
I know. It gives me hope for humanity. Just that one anecdote.
I'm pretty sure that is actually the. Have you ever heard the story of Pocahontas? Because I think that's actually the same thing that happened. Is, eventually, they waved enough at each other that she joined the faction and went back, and then got diseases and died. I think. It never works out well when somebody switches factions like that. They always die of illnesses.
That poor guy. I feel kind of bad now. Like I've coaxed him over from the other side to imminent doom.
He had friends, and then he was nobody. Like,
He was a turncoat.
because you know he's just gonna go right back. Tell them
I,
your
d-
secrets.
I know I've probably exposed us to a lot of subterfuge.
Because that matters. It's really important.
Be up all night now.
Uh, yeah. So, what else? What else do you play? Do you still play? Like, when you do play games, what do you play these days?
Um, what did I play? Like I just bought a Wii U, like
Hell yeah.
literally last week, which I'm super excited about. So like I played a bunch of the games before, but I've never owned one. So it's like Christmas for me now. Like I'm getting to pick up all this new stuff and play all the way through it, and it's all like just all fun like toys. Like
Yeah.
I've got. And this isn't even out the wrapper yet because I've been working so much. But like, you know, can you see?
Yeah, it's visible.
Um, so I'm just kind of slowly building up my collection of Mario games. And aside from that, I have been playing Dragon Age Inquisition, like all the DLCs and things that I missed.
Yeah, I never got
Um,
through those. I played the original when it came out because it's one of those things that like when Bioware comes out with a game, I have to buy it immediately, and I don't know why. I just have to. Uh,
like I still haven't played the Mass Effect games. Well, I've played like a little bit of the first one, but all the models were kind of janky and like I came to it a wee bit late and I'd played all the Dragon Age stuff first and I couldn't quite get into it. But I know it's supposed to be amazing. It's just one of the things I'm gonna have to like force myself through until it gets good.
well, did you ever get into the Knights of the Old Republic? Um, Not the MMO, but like the games for the PS2, I guess.
No, like I know everybody talks about how good the second one is, and I try. At least I think it's the second one. I tried to play one of them, but like when I went to play it, like the people that I knew who were recommending it were like, you need to have this mod and that mod, and you have to set it up this
Oh
specific way
God.
and fix all these problems. And I was like, okay. And I think I must have just completely broken it because when I opened it, it was just the whole thing was a mess. So like, I didn't,
Yeah,
and I was just like, and
Interestingly enough, Steam patched my Knights of the Old Republic 2 like last week. So
oh,
apparently they have solved some of the issues in a non-hacky kind of way. And
maybe I should go back and see if it's fixed.
I'd say give it a try if you can stomach the way that it looks and how old it feels. It's one of the better ones. Like legitimately is really quite good.
Um,
I would say that it's more like maybe Dragon Age Origins than the rest of them. Because after Origins, they kind of moved to sort of an actiony kind of a thing.
and there's jumping in the most recent one, which is a massive step up.
Yeah, jumping in a PC RPG just seems
Yeah,
like
I know, madness.
blasphemy, nonsense.
But but I have actually played the MMO though, the Star Wars: The Old Republic MMO, and I like it. It does. I know you like hate MMOs obviously, but um, it does play a lot like all of the others with the companions and like having their wee quests and building up your friendships and stuff with them. Like I was quite into it.
Yeah, the one issue that I had, because honestly, I did play it. I played it for about a month, and my favorite part was like no matter what side you're on, no matter who you're with, there's always an option of jettisoning somebody into space at some point. Like and that and because they crowdsource the conversation options, and you roll against other people to determine like who's the one who gets
Yeah.
to choose. I was always on the good side, and I was always like, okay, we're jettisoning this person into space, and I would win those rolls and like totally ruin canon for everybody. Uh, like everybody else is like, yeah, let's go push the button over there and save him, and I'm like, no, like we're gonna kill this guy for no reason. The one thing I will say about the Old Republic MMO is if it wasn't an MMO, I think it would be 100 times better because I think it has that storyline and it's like a strong. it could have been good on its own, but because they had to drag it out over the course of 100 hours, it became not a good game.
Well, I mean, I think that one of the big reasons why it's annoying to play it as an MMO, or at least to play it with friends, like on voice chat, is that all of the quests have like cutscenes rather than text, and that works so much better when you're just playing it like where you can, on your own, where you can listen to it. So otherwise, like either if somebody's talking to you on Skype, it goes over the top of the quest, or the quest goes over the top of them. So I'll just like it gets really hard to follow, or at least you always feel slightly like you're being interrupted by one or the other,
Yeah,
which
not to
is
mention
kind of
if you
the point.
actually, I mean, if you actually play with people and they don't want to deal with that shit, like if then you're missing everything, like because they're just gonna be like, skip it, nerd, skip it. Why are you watching this? So it just doesn't seem good.
This is the problem that I have like playing co-op in general because like me and my friend like buy a lot of co-op games and then we'll like hang out over the weekend and play a bit. And the only one that we can like properly get into together is Secrets of Grindia because like you both have your own like control over the text. Like you can hold down escape to like go out of a cutscene, but you'll still have to wait until the other person has decided that they're done.
Uh,
So if I want to read everything, I can, and he can't do anything until I'm done.
that's terrible. I mean, it's
But
good.
with other
It's good,
games,
but it's
like
terrible.
yeah, like when we try and play other things, like we played Diablo 3 for a bit, and we played a bit of Tor as well. But well, we would rush through things like all the conversations, the text. We never had a clue what was going on. We were just running around like chatting and mashing things to bits and then getting killed. So like we really could have been playing anything, like or just mashing buttons and
It's
watching
like
TV.
it's like a Hitler simulator, and you have no idea.
Pretty much.
I don't know why
And
everybody goes right to Hitler, or at least I do. I go right to Hitler all the time. I push the Hitler
it's just
button
always you.
nonstop. Like anybody says anything, just bring it all back to Hitler, and I need to stop doing that.
Like I'm trying to think that whenever people talk about games and Hitler at the same time, it makes me think of those adventure games. I can't remember if it's Time Gentlemen Please or Been There Done That. Do you know the ones I mean?
I have no
Like
idea.
they're kind of like they're made by the guys that made The Swindle, and they're like kind of an homage to LucasArts games, I think. But one of them has Hitler, and he's in like a mech, and he has like dinosaurs working for him, so it's brilliant.
That's
Like,
like that's like the story behind Wolfenstein 3D.
well,
It's
this is probably better.
robot zombie Hitler, and that's how I learned German was from Wolfenstein characters yelling at me. So I probably only know how to say like "stop" or "I'm Hitler." in, in,
It's gonna be super useful if you ever visit.
I'm gonna go to Germany and be like "Guten Tag," and then start yelling like extremely offensive things about Hitler. uh, yeah, I don't belong anywhere else but right where I am. I would get in a lot of trouble.
Well, it's a good thing you don't have a passport then, really.
No, no Americans do. That's a secret. The secret about Americans is that why would we have passports? We have all these islands you can visit without a passport if you want to just like go on a boat.
You've already got all the freedom you could ever need.
Yeah. Well, we if we ever feel like limiting our freedoms, we could travel, up to Canada or down to Mexico. But they're pretty free in Mexico. I mean, there's nothing that says freedom like drug cartels cutting people's heads off. That's like ultimate freedom. Especially since nobody even tries to stop them. Like that's I'm going to paint
I
a
wonder.
negative picture of Mexico right now.
I wonder if Tony's still at the Jack because he's probably gonna have an opinion on that.
He knows. If anybody knows, it's him. It's funny. I mean, Alejandro, the guy that works with Zach at Spaceboy, he talks about how his dad has like an armored SUV. I think he's from Venezuela or something. But like you have to, I don't even think it's legal to have that here unless you're the president.
I'm sorry I got distracted by the chat because Bears is telling everyone that I'm a liar because I don't live in a castle.
Really?
Like you can quite clearly see the ladder up to the east tower right here.
That's I mean, it looks like kind of shoddy castle work ladder. Wouldn't it be like wooden or something?
It's a very modern castle.
Oh, okay. So it's like a micro castle. I see. That makes sense. It's funny, my stepdad's from Ireland. Well, he's not actually, but everybody here that has like ancestors from Ireland is from Ireland for some reason. And he's like, "Oh, we should go look at my castle," or he says, "Oh, look at me castle." He like puts on an accent that isn't real because he's from Texas. And it doesn't make any sense. But yeah, I always just assume that everybody has castles for some reason. it's
We do.
Yeah, really.
I Yeah, I'm in one right now.
Well, shit.
I know.
Way to just nullify everything that I'm saying.
Sorry. But maybe in Ireland they don't, I mean, Scotland is pretty special.
I mean, he could. I just think it makes more sense to my logical brain that he's just totally full of shit.
No, I think he probably is.
He actually has a castle. No, I've been wrong this whole time. Let me tell
Do
my.
Irish do Irish have clans? Does your dad have like a clan and like a crest and shit like that? American people always look up what their tartan is.
What?
Like like American people that are like, oh, I have Scottish like um ancestors. They always look up what their clan tartan is based on their surname,
I
and then they
see.
tell me.
Well, let me tell you for sure. I've never heard of that. But I don't know. I mean, clearly I'm like totally racially ambiguous. I have no idea where I'm from, since my dad was adopted, so I can't claim anything like that.
Oh, okay.
But
I don't think you're really missing out on anything here. Like I don't have a clan either because my surname is English.
well, okay. In Texas, people don't really even care that much about their lineage, because they're Texan. There's something about being Texan where you're just
Oh,
Texan.
like they're already proud enough.
Yes, yes.
You to piggyback.
But I do remember when I was in New York, everybody was like, they could trace back to what Italian village, because they're all Italian. They could trace back to like where their family's from over several generations, even though they've been there for like 500 years. It's always just really interesting to me because I've always been taught, like be proud of being Texan, and then the news tells you like be ashamed of being Texan. So I'm like, I'm struggling.
Why should you be ashamed?
Oh, I don't know, because we're all racists or whatever.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah, you should be ashamed.
Yeah, I'm pretty racist. Have you ever seen a black person on Mr. Pod? I mean, that's like proof. No, they just won't even come on. This is a call. Anybody watching to
Yeah,
diversify.
yeah, we're up in the diversity. That's why I'm here to fill that lady quota.
Lady quota. Right. We've had one of them's before. Now we've had two. That makes it's a trend. No more men on Mr. Pod until we even it out. So we got what 13 more episodes to do.
Do we even know any other women?
Oh God.
We did. There's ladies in the Slack that you should have on, and the lady with the lion. What's the thing with the lion? You've never explained the lion to me.
What?
The character that you draw in your game that's like a lion wearing a parka.
Oh, arrow. Yeah, arrow lion. Yeah. Well, I guess it means like perverted lion is like Japanese surname or whatever. But
Um,
it's actually it originated from this girl Louise who used to draw. Yeah, Sandy's talking about arrow lion now. Uh, Basically, in Chicken Sword there was a lion in the original build that was like just totally just like a gives a real like rapey kind of a vibe, and is like really obsessed with the chicken, which I think is okay because a chicken is a chicken and not like a person. But like,
Yeah.
it was clear that that lion man was like really too into the chicken, and that was the whole. That's the whole story. There's really nothing else. He has a van. It's called the Arrow Van because all rapey lions need a van.
I'll repeat everyone's need a van.
Yeah, the van is the ultimate goal, which makes me think like maybe we should be profiling people with vans. Because I don't see personally I don't see ever having a van, but that's because I don't have those kind of tendencies. Maybe I don't want to.
To give people free hugs.
Yes, front hugs.
No, this is a non-front hug zone, and you know this.
Oh yeah. It's interesting, and I don't know. Do they do the whole side hug thing there? I mean,
No, I have never heard of this before. That ridiculous video, like that
really?
video is the most beautiful thing I have ever seen. Um, like I just realized nobody will know what we're talking about.
Okay. So let's preface it. The Christian side hug is a thing. I think Americans, at least in the South, are very familiar. Because like even parents and like my in-laws, they do the side hug thing, or my mother-in-law does, and I don't think about it because it's been like the whole time I've been growing up. Apparently, that's not normal.
It's weird that it's a thing. Like I didn't realize it was a thing outside of this small Christian group that like made the video. But I just found it really funny because it never occurred to me to find hugs weird. But it's just a beautiful thing. The song and everything, the dancing, the shooting,
Well, the
the,
dancing
the
and the
heel
singing,
march.
I think the song probably isn't commonly known. 'Cause it's just I think it's almost like you just grow up and everybody hugs you on the side and you're like, okay, well I guess that's how you hug people, right? Um, I so like I didn't know that it wasn't a thing everywhere until we just started talking about it. Now I'm like really ashamed because
I'm sorry, am I?
if you don't
I
like
shouldn't hug
somebody
shame
enough
people.
to like give them like a full on hug, you just kind of like loop over uh, and give them a one squeeze, and then you're done. Or a handshake, I guess, if they're a man.
Hearty slap on the back and a
Yeah,
nod.
yeah. You put your hand on their shoulder and squeeze it until they're uncomfortable, and then you let go. But no, I guess I wasn't there for that conversation, but yeah, that's definitely a thing.
Yeah, that's weird. It's weird that that's a thing.
Okay. Do they just like? What's the alternative? Because I guess you don't just hug everybody.
Well, yeah, I mean, hugging is for like best friends and family and people who are like super touchy feely. For everybody else, I guess you just shake hands or wave
Ah, like wave from up close. You're like,
from like
good
right next
day.
to
That seems English somehow. Like
yeah.
walking up to people and being like, "Oh, hello," and like waving in their face, and then they wave back in your face, and then you curtsy or bow.
Oh no, the English people like take their hats off, obviously.
They raise their tea glass,
Yeah.
and they clink them together. For some reason they always have the glass with them in their pocket. Or it's part of the. I don't know. I really shouldn't leave the country. I would weird people out, I guess.
You're just gonna be like a walking faux pas like the entire time.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, no, I would have to wear boots. Like the one time I went to New York, I wore cowboy boots the whole time.
Boots.
Boots, yeah.
What did you say boobs?
Boots. Like
Oh, boots.
boots, yeah.
Okay.
Boots, yeah.
Okay, that changes the meaning slightly. Carry on.
I wear boops, whatever that is. And everybody's like, that's odd, you're wearing boops. Do you not know about boops?
I thought you said bibs.
Boobs. Oh, yeah. I think that's more of a California thing.
Oh.
But but yeah, there's something about leaving the comfort zone where you have to like cling to things that you wouldn't even normally cling to, like hats and boots.
When you say boots, do you mean like cowboy boots?
Yes.
Do you own cowboy
Oh
boots?
yeah. Do you
Wow.
not? No. I actually inherited them from my grandfather. So
Fair enough. Like, I mean, I don't, but then I also like don't own clogs or kilts, which would be traditional for both sides of my family. So
yikes.
I think I just figured that cowboy boots and that kind of thing are just like a stereotype.
I mean, they're as much stereotype as anything because there's always some truth there. But if you go to like a bar, you're gonna see a lot of people in cowboy boots.
That's awesome. I kind of want to go now.
Yeah.
With
Well,
that, do they wear the hats as well?
I mean, not where I'm from. Um, you'd have to go, over to West Texas, somewhere out where they, don't have buildings, and then they'd have hats. But I see a cowboy hat, occasionally, and I'm not weirded out. It's like something that doesn't look crazy here, I guess.
Like when you see cowboy hats here, it's like hen nights and parties, and they're like covered in pink glitter.
Yeah, those aren't the ones I'm talking about.
Yeah, like
These are like weathered with the blood of animals or what. Like, I mean, one of my good friends went to a rodeo the other day, like last weekend, which is not it's not a normal thing for him to do, but it's like they just decided one day because that's an available activity here to go watch people riding horses, So
like if you go to like a rodeo, are you going to watch? Like, are the people that are like participating professionals?
yeah, yeah, it's like bull riding competitions and stuff like that.
Okay, so it's not just like you can go and just get on a crazy horse.
I'll take your craziest horse, please.
one, one horse, good to go. And I'm showing all my ignorance today.
No, it's important that we're having this conversation so that you can spread knowledge of these things. I'm sure that you're going to go right outside, because it's daytime now for you. You're like, guess what I learned about Texas?
I can't go outside because this place is full of junkies.
What?
Like, do you know? Hang on. Do you know what? I'm trying to think if I keep forgetting like whether I'm using Scottish or
No,
like
no,
normal.
junkie is a thing.
Yeah, we call them jakies here, but junkies is what they're normally called, right? But
Yeah.
yeah, my whole street is just full of junkies. They don't answer their doors, presumably in case it's like the police or someone come to like reclaim their telly or something. So instead, they just stand out in the street and yell at each other's windows to get their attention. And like honestly, so like if somebody lives on the top floor, there could be somebody like outside my house just yelling up to them repeatedly until they answer from the window and let them in.
What if they're
And
not
one of them
home?
said, "Huh?"
What if they're not home? Then they just keep yelling.
The yelling goes on for a long time. One of the junkies is called Jenny, unfortunately. So unless it's somebody shouting for me, and I've been ignoring for years.
They've got like a boombox outside, just yelling at you. Why doesn't she come outside? I found you. I'm your long lost brother.
Oh, all those missed opportunities.
But no, we have junkies here. It's very sad.
Yeah.
What,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. There are always varying degrees of junkies. Like, like what an old person calls a junkie is not what a young person calls a junkie necessarily.
Yeah, this is true. I'm
My
talking about the kind that like don't have their teeth.
Yeah, my neighborhood is mostly like retirees with gray hair and grandkids. So I don't think I live in the same kind of a neighborhood.
No, I did live in an area like that before, but it was when I was actually at uni first time round. So we're talking like I'm what 19 or something like that, and having parties every night and having people stay over, and I'm up until like 5 a.m. And like everybody else in my building was either retired or like a doctor or something like that. And there was once they got so annoyed with us that they chapped the door and woke us up at like like 2 in the afternoon or something like that, and we were fast asleep. So like we were trying to throw clothes on to answer the door, and they were like, "We're having a building meeting, and you are requested next door." And we were like, "What the
Oh my god, that's so formal.
I know, and we couldn't like. This is back when like skater punk was cool. So I'm wearing like those kind of skater jeans that don't hold up on their own, and I couldn't find my belt. So I had to like walk across this house like full of grannies and doctors, like holding up my baggy pants and sit on this little stool in the middle of some like wee old lady's living room while they like guilt tripped me about how they all had to sleep with earplugs because I was inconsiderate.
Oh my god, that sounds
I know.
amazing.
I know. So I guess really it's probably better to be surrounded by junkies on the whole.
Yeah, I mean we have awkward situations like one time my neighbor didn't mow his yard for apparently an appropriate amount of time,
That's disgusting
and then
behavior.
another neighbor mowed it like didn't ask,
Like passive aggressively.
like somebody from the corner several houses down brought his mower over and just mowed their yard one morning. And I asked him about it, and he was just like, "He's fucking mowing my yard. You think I'm gonna stop him?" But there's somebody that they just never have talked before, and it's just like the most terrible thing that you could do to somebody. Uh, it's very king of the hill. That's the kind of neighborhood I live in. Is That's like real life to me.
Like to put it into perspective, like obviously we have a garden, but because I live in an apartment, it's like a shared garden. So the space out the back is quite small and it's all just like pebbles and stuff like that. And our bins are back there and there's like you can hang up laundry and stuff. But a family moved in to the flat like downstairs from me and they had two big dogs. And they basically just like instead of taking their dogs out like to the park and then, putting the poop in a little bag and whatever, they just let them into our back garden and they just shat all over it. And they left it there. So every time somebody had to like go and get the bins from the back so that they could be like picked up by the bin men, they would have to roll them
The
over the
binman?
dog
Wait,
poo.
is a binman a thing?
Bin man like garbage.
Oh, okay, so that's what they call it. They Okay, so garbage man is I guess the equivalent. It's just I've never
Yeah.
heard that before. Bin man. That's like
Okay.
it's like a Mega Man person that's really boring and throws trash.
Yeah.
I just
So,
have to stop you to make sure that I'm not like mishearing something. It's like I want to learn all this stuff so that I can blend in seamlessly.
oh, I'm sure you absolutely will.
I'll try my accent out the next time. But
oh God. Yeah. So you're rolling a bin like through dog poo, and then all the way through like the building and out the front door. So there's like this big trail of shit, like right through the hallway
that's
every time.
horrific.
So like, and I'm not the kind of person that can go to somebody's door and be like, "Could you please stop leaving jobbies in the back garden?" So I had to just write a kind of angry note. Like I was one of those people that leaves a note.
Good sir, have you seen the binman? I
I'm
really
terribly sorry to bother
sorry.
you.
I can't. I just zoned out. I'm like in my head. It's just like binmen rotating around.
Just like bins with arms and legs.
Yeah. Yes. I'm sorry. Did you mean the garbage man?
So like I know what all your words are, and you don't know what any of my words are. This is bullshit.
Oh yeah. Well, I don't really have any special fancy words. I think mine are all derivative from other things that people probably understand already. Plus, a lot of the I don't know. Like I always just assume that everybody watches American movies, and then like so they're familiar with the vernacular or whatever. But that might not be true. I just
No, that is definitely true. Like, and we obviously get a lot of American TV, but there's lots of British films too. You've got no excuse.
British films. You mean like
British.
Doctor Who and that's it?
No, like
And
there's
Top Gear?
obviously there's all of the costume dramas like Pride and Prejudice and Sense and Sensibility.
Oh yeah. See, that in my mind, that's just an American thing, and they're all doing accents. But uh, we have House, and he's British, but he doesn't. He uses an American accent. For some reason, people from England are much better at impersonating Americans than we are at them.
Yeah, yeah, I guess so. He does have like quite a convincing American accent, but it just sounds convincing to me because I'm not actually from there.
No, it is. I mean, I had no idea that Hugh Laurie was British until somebody told me, and I was like,
Really?
I slapped him in the face, and I was like, "You fucking liar!" And I looked it up, and then I apologized.
Like, what did you think when you actually heard the way he actually talks? Because it's ridiculously posh English, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not at all the same as the TV show. So I don't know. I was very impressed. I'm also impressed how they were able to hide his bald spot for so long in that show because it just kept
Is it?
getting bigger and bigger. I guess they used one of those like hair in a can things to fill it in and
Oh
shot him
God.
from below all the time.
Like, have you ever watched Fringe?
Fringe?
Fringe,
Yeah,
the sci-fi thing.
yes, I have.
Yeah, I watched that entire thing, like beginning to end, without knowing that the actress that plays Olivia Dunham wasn't American.
Yeah,
Like,
and another one, Rick Grimes from The Walking Dead, who's like the cowboy guy who does like real Southern cowboy kind of an accent. He's from England as well.
okay, is that the one? Oh yeah, is that the one that's always in that meme where he's telling like the kid a joke?
Oh, like the choral thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Is that the guy? Yeah, because I recognize him, so I must have seen him in British stuff before.
yeah. It's weird. People just
Yeah,
need to be themselves. It's very confusing.
I know. I'm gonna say about this.
just, uh, just cast somebody with the accent you want. Don't make them change themselves.
I kind of actually think that a lot about voice acting for games. Like, so often, like you're kind of phoning them in, and like sometimes you get voice actors. Like I'm talking about like when you're doing indie and you have a really low budget and stuff. Sometimes you get voice actors who are good actors, but then they have to put on some really ridiculous accent in order to kind of squeeze into the type of game it is, and
Yeah.
it's so obviously fake, and it just seems like a real shame.
So we're back on an actual kind of a topic, kind of a thing now.
Oh, like we're actually talking about games as
Instead
well.
of instead of just nonsense.
You're just talking nice. I kind of feel bad that people are actually watching this.
No, they are. They're fucking loving it. You guys are loving it. But yeah, I've made the argument before that like bad voice acting is so much worse than no voice acting. Because it
Yeah.
just gets really like every time you hear it, it just pulls you away from the game, and you're like, oh, why am I? But I say that, and I've been like trying so hard to get my own voice in people's games, like Friends. I'm like, I'll do
I
your
know I've tried
voices,
to get your voice in my games before, I'm
and
fairly sure.
and they won't do it. They're like, they're like, no, no, no. I record them, I send them stuff, and it's like, well, hello, how are you? Like, totally Deckard Cain, like, stay a while and listen, and then they're like, yeah, yeah, we'll use it. There was a copy of Ink with like old grandpa voice. It would be like every time it jumped, it would be like hop hop drop instead of like, and it didn't make any sense because it's like a square character. But I don't know, like I'm terrible at it, and I have no aptitude for voice acting at all. But like, I want so desperately to be involved on every level with video games. Like I don't want there to be something that you can do that I haven't done. I don't know. It's like a
Like,
sickness.
I I wanted to be a voice, not like I wanted to be a voice actor like a career, but I mean I wanted to be involved in our game in that way, like because obviously you know how there's a character that looks like me in Quest for Infamy, like she's a barmaid, and it's basically just my face on like your fantasy big boobed like bar wench, like but because it was my face, like everybody in the team was like, well, it should be your voice as well, because otherwise it's going to be really weird. And I tried recording lines, and then I would listen to them back, and I was like, oh, it was like the Scottish women in Prometheus. You know, like in the opening scenes of Prometheus, she just has like the most wooden voice ever. And she is actually a Scottish person, but she sounds like she's speaking accent. That's like how bad her acting is.
Uh,
And and that's what I sounded like. And I was so upset. I was like, I can't put this in a game. This is awful. Because then people will talk about how bad the voice acting is, and I'll be like, they mean me. So
I'm trying to think of Scottish voices I've heard that I could like identify really easily. Craig Ferguson is Scottish, isn't he?
oh, I love him so much.
Yeah,
He,
he's one of my favorite comedians and people in general.
his accent is very like tinted with American now though. Like
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you guys can hear it, but like I can hear it. But he he did this old show. It was called, I think the one I had was called the Ferguson Theory, and this was like I think maybe early 90s or something like that. And he wore like a leather waistcoat and black leather trousers, and he had like this total curtain hair, like you know the kind that just like parts in a really weird, like sweet way.
I
It
see.
was
That's
awful.
really specific details about this.
No, well, it's very striking when you see it. Like he looked
Uh-huh.
ridiculous, and he was sort of like effeminate as well, but just in the way that he talked was like really really exaggerated, but it was glorious.
Yeah.
And it was like a million times more Scottish than the way he sounds when he's, well, he doesn't do the show anymore, does he? But like when he was doing the show in
You know,
America.
he stopped. I used to watch it, and gosh, I will say, like, I've never seen a foreigner be so like enamored with American history before. But he's like totally patriotic American somehow, and it's like just crazy. Like he has tattoos, like American history tattoos and things like
Does
that.
he?
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
just like it's the weirdest thing. He's written books about it, uh, and he's just a fascinating individual. I think he just kind of like totally found something he likes. But before he was in a band, I guess with I think that the current guy, the current Doctor on Doctor Who, I think was in his band when they were younger.
What the current Doctor Who? Did you say?
Yes, I believe.
Wait, isn't the current Doctor Who that guy from the thick of it?
I have no idea. That sounds like a thing I have no idea.
Sorry, it's something else you would. I haven't watched it either, but
He used to be a
it's the
bin
show
man.
time. It's about Binman.
They're talking shit about my cereal box, but it's like I specifically unveiled the cereal box for the episode. Like it
Just
wasn't there.
because.
It's like I've
Is there
got my
even cereal in it?
Oh yeah, there's Cheerios right behind me and Cheerio. Um,
Sandy says listening to you is like a carving knife in his ear. It's
really,
harsh. That's pretty
you
harsh.
know, people have told me that I have a very smooth voice. It's nice to listen to. Uh, but those people are usually like being threatened. So I don't know. I have no idea what I sound like anymore because I can't listen to it. But yeah, Craig Ferguson's good. But yeah, voice acting. So if you ever need a bad voice actor, I will work for free as long as you let me write my own lines.
I can't imagine anybody making a game and then letting their voice actor write their own lines.
Oh yeah.
Or although maybe that's just because I'm thinking of adventure games, because that completely would not work in an adventure game. That would fuck me straight
Hello,
up.
Prince, and it's like a space quest. If you
um,
want to cross my bridge,
yeah, that wouldn't work. But like, I guess you're right. If it was just like platformers where people were just like throwing out like flavor text, then
flavor text.
flavor text, then you'd be all over that shit.
I need to I need to incorporate flavor text into something. Like that needs to become a real thing.
Flavor text is a real thing.
I've never heard that term used before. Flavor text.
I think actually, I mean, I don't think I used it in the correct context. I think isn't flavor text like, you know, like if you've got like an item in an MMO and it's got like descriptions on it, like aside from the actual stats, isn't that flavor text?
Flavor
Maybe the
text.
chat. knows? Have I
I've
made
never
this up?
heard
Is this
any
a
of
thing?
this. Flavor text, people. Is it a thing? Find out next time. I'm registering flavortext.com right now.
Oh, look, you're already getting offers in the chat from people
Yeah,
who
they
want.
have no idea what they're in for. I am
It's
intolerable
like
to work
people
with.
are agreeing with me.
Oh, flavor text. It's a thing. I think it's like a fruit roll up with like letter cutouts.
Or like alphabeti spaghetti.
Alphabeti spaghetti. This what the fuck? No, I have no idea what that is either. Well, I mean, I could probably glean based on the fact that it's called what it is.
Yeah, like I think it's fairly self-explanatory what it is.
You see. Yeah, we have SpaghettiOs here.
Okay.
So that's probably
SpaghettiOs sounds like it would be just the O's, which is like would make very many words other than ooh.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's also ABCs and 1, 2, 3s. That's another thing.
Oh,
Super good branding.
I'm getting mocked so much in this chat. I'm upset about it.
What?
In the chat. I just like I can't keep up with it because there's so much. Like I keep catching the
Rudy
odds.
Tooty point and shooties. Jesus. No, I will say, yeah, there are a couple things that you've said that I've kind of let slide, but like in the past, I've seen you use words, and it's like I'm sure there's a normal version of the word, but for some reason, that's not what I was hearing.
I'm assuming you don't remember examples of this so that I can like
Oh,
explain myself.
I'm trying to. I'm really trying to. Usually, it involves like something with spinning, or I don't know.
Is this the whirligig thing again?
Whirligig. That's one of them. What the? What is a whirligig?
It's like a clothesline, but it's like a central pole, and then it kind of has like spokes coming out of it, and the clothesline is like all round it like that, so you can spin it.
I see. Does the Binman know? No, I don't think we. It's not even commonly used. Clotheslines in general aren't commonly used here because people just use dryers. Like,
Well, I mean, I personally have a dryer, but it's not. I don't think it's super common for people to have them here. Like,
really,
I think, yeah, I think that's like a luxury item, generally speaking.
only the fanciest kings have clothes
Only,
dryers.
only the best equipped castles.
Well, they're
But
kind of
like,
annoying.
it's sort of a stupid thing to dry your clothes outside in a place that rains all the time. Like, because they just get wet again.
Yeah, is that a thing? I don't know. It's so dry here. Like,
Like, it's rain, I think, yes. Rain is a thing.
yeah, we get that every like 4 or 5 months. We might get some liquid in the air. Not really. I live in a place called Tornado Alley.
Oh, you said this. Did you not tell me that you like drove through one once?
Yes.
Which I'm calling bullshit on that. I don't see how that's possible.
Well, let me tell you a story. Uh, it, it was actually the first day I was registering for college courses. I used to drive a 1989 Mercury Grand Marquis, and I don't know if you can picture that in your mind, but if you can't, you picture a boat, and then you put wheels on it, and that's what I drove. So, uh, basically, there was my wipers didn't work very well because I didn't replace them or anything, but I was driving through a storm, and my car got tossed around a little bit, and I couldn't see out the windshield at all. It was like just rain. There was no way I could see. So I pulled into what was it called? A gas station. I don't know why I drew a blank. and and walked inside. There were a bunch of people standing at the window, like pointing through me, basically with their mouths like wide open. So I was like turning around to see what was going on, and there was like a tornado that was like going right down the street. So that was like the closest I've seen. But yeah, that's not. I actually did drive through one. It wasn't really like. I mean, people like to make things out to be bigger than they are, but like most of the time it's just like a little thing that tosses you around and then you're fine.
That doesn't sound like a little thing if it can pick up a car that's basically a
Well,
boat.
most of them don't pick up the car. It just kind of makes you like wobble time, you know. You
Oh,
just
okay.
kind of you teeter totter. Plus, I was driving like a massive iron machine. If I was in like a Hyundai or something, I probably would have been like in a tree. But yeah, it's weird, you know, because like the Texans were afraid of earthquakes because we just don't get them, you know. And I guess people in California get earthquakes all the time, but they're like, "Oh, I could never live in a place with tornadoes." Everybody's got some horrible thing. Japan's got Godzilla attacks.
That's the thing. Like we don't have anything. Like we have like really middle of the road weather where nothing really happens. I mean, I guess like Nessie might turn up and attack everybody, but I think that's sort of unlikely at this point.
Yeah,
You know about the Loch Ness monster, right? I mean, I think that's probably crossed the pond, hasn't it?
yeah. All I know is that it is not real. I mean,
Shut up!
I can't confirm or deny their realness because I've never been there. But
Nobody can. Nobody
I
can.
mean, probably scientists can and have, but
Yeah, but like, just because if you haven't found something, that doesn't prove it's not there, right?
yeah, says a crazy person.
I mean, I don't personally think it's there, but
I will
good
say
for the tourist trade to have people question it.
there is a great deal of things that we have not discovered on our own planet, and they're mostly in the ocean. Like every time we go deep into the ocean, there's some shit, and people are like, "No, let's just not do that." Like prehistoric shark creatures and things like that are just like, ugh. Let's just stay on our side, and they'll stay on their side. You know? But we've been to the moon. It's just, but the ocean, that's too treacherous.
Yeah, but I mean, we went to the moon and there was nothing there. I mean, the oceans has like, as you say, weird shit in it.
Yeah, tons of weird shit. Like fish. What's that about?
Oh,
So if there were, you know, pre-existing or currently existing prehistoric life, it would probably be there somewhere. Or
but how do you know that there isn't some like inlet situation that like it's getting to the sea from? In fact, there might actually be one. I don't remember. That may have just been in a film and I've made it up. But you know, underwater cavern situation.
oh yeah, you know, secret base.
Volcano.
Yeah, no, but yeah. I think most of the time it's yeah.
Okay, fine.
Anyway, I imagine you're getting pretty tired.
I'll
So
leave it. Yeah,
yeah,
it's like yeah, it's 6:45. I've
so
done well, I think.
you have really you've gone as long as just about anybody. Uh, but is there anything you want to plug? I guess we've already talked about Steam Marines 2, which you're doing the portraits for, and any
Um,
adventure games to.
yeah, yeah. The Order of the Thorn series. The first one is out already. The King's Challenge is on Steam and Humble and everywhere.
Do you get a piece of
Um,
this? Is this something that we need to plug because you're going to be like wealthy?
no, not
Fuck them
no.
then.
But like, I mean, it's like anything. It's a series, so I mean, if it if it does well, then they can pay me to make more, I
Oh
guess.
yeah,
So yeah, you should, guys should all buy it and play it and pretend you like it.
but not too much. Put out a we'll do a petition that says that we'll buy it if you get a piece of the action.
Okay. Like if there's some kind of deal for like the next 5 games.
Yeah, they're gonna give you a signing bonus. No, you
Yeah.
have to imagine though, and the fucked up thing about this is, if they became just immensely wealthy, they'd probably just find somebody else, and have like that's just kind of the way things go.
I got totally distracted by chat and didn't listen to you at all. That's awful.
All right, that has been Mr. Pod.
I'm like, yeah, yeah. But, oh wait, we still on? No. What were you saying about somebody, like them just hiring someone else? If they did really well with this game, do you think they would kick me out and get somebody better? Is that what you're telling
Well,
me right
I'm
now?
better is a harsh way. They'd probably, I mean, if you had infinite money, would you choose you?
That is so bitchy. But no, you're right. I wouldn't.
No, it's just I I wouldn't choose myself to do anything if
No,
I.
I wouldn't. But I think if they had infinite money, I don't think any of them would be making games. They'd probably all be like on an island drinking like mojitos or something.
You don't think this is what they want to be doing forever?
No, like I'm sure it is, but like I think everybody that I work with has at least one, if not 2 kids. So they're probably all due for like a holiday about now.
That's so many kids.
But yeah, I feel bad because I don't have any, so I'm just like, come on, let's do some games.
Well, it's quite easy if you'd like to have one. I think
Okay.
that you probably could. In a manner, I mean, just it wouldn't take much effort at all on your part.
I beg to differ on
I
that
mean,
score.
the oh yeah, it's. I say that. I hope my wife doesn't watch this, but it kids are fun. They're a joy, but they drain the life out of you.
I know I've experienced this with my nieces and nephews. They've like I love them, but they have put me off.
Yeah, it's best to just not. I think unless you really want that to be your life,
Hmm.
which I did, I guess, and do maybe.
Maybe, hopefully.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll let you. Let's wrap this up then. I'm sure there's something that we're gonna want to have talked about and we didn't cover, but we did cover British actors pretending to be American.
And that's all that really matters. And Nessie's underwater lair, which people
Yes,
need to know about. You
secret
know, it's
underground
like
base. It's just like infinitely more complex life than we could have possibly imagined.
compared to the chat right now, which is just lots of people saying peens.
Beans.
Uh,
Draw beans.
oh, peens. Okay,
Okay, well you've got your mission now.
I'm on the case.
All right. Well, that's it. You should all follow Jenny at, let's spell it out, Estrirdalin. How do you pronounce that
Esther
again?
Dallin.
Esther Dallin, which is,
Yeah.
you said it was a Morrowind reference?
Yeah, it's a member of the Mages Guild in Balmora.
That's
Morrowind.
so fucking nerdy.
Thing is, that particular character is the one that sells you like the spell crafting things, so you can use her to make an exploit to like permanently boost your stats, which is why I like her.
I call you nerdy and then you double down.
I know. I was like, oh, it's so much nerdier than that.
How can I really push this? Okay. Well, thanks for watching, everybody. That's it. See y'all later.